My gyno dropped me because my hoo-ha was so bad.
It smells like booty in here.
Yeah.
I'm getting a nervous feeling in my stomach. I might start farting.
I hate going in the bathroom after a bitch that got some stink ass. Like, I can't even afford to go in this bathroom because I'm not pulling my out in that stink ass air. Like, I can't do it.
Did y'all see that video that creator made when she said her and her girlfriend was out? She said they goes to the bathroom and she smells an odor. So listen, her being a friend, she tells her girlfriend, she said, listen, she said, I think you got BV. It smelled like you got a little something going on. She was like, maybe you should go get checked out, you and your boyfriend, because it smelled like BV to me. Well, baby, her girlfriend did not take that kindly, honey.
Ladies, we need to have a serious conversation about that smell. I did a video a few months ago where I talked about Brazilian waxers blowing the lid off of some of their unhygienic customers, and that video blew up. And I saw so many comments from you all who watched the video, and you shared your own personal testimonies, your own personal stories with encountering people who had a situation going on down below. But I want to have this conversation here today on the platform because in the past month and a half, I've had to have this conversation with a few women, letting them know that there was something off down there. And it's not an easy conversation to have. It's extremely difficult. But I want to just kind of blow the lid off of this thing. Like, let's just really have a conversation about what's going on down there. And I specifically want to talk about one imbalance or infection in particular. It's called bacterial vaginosis, because a lot of women just are unaware that they have it. Some of them think it's just a part of their normal smell. Some don't understand it. And we're just going to have that conversation today. But I want you all to watch all the way to the end, because I want to give you all some scripts, some verbiage, just some easy conversations that you can have to broach the topic with the women in your life. If you are experiencing this and you just don't know what to say because you're like, it's such an uncomfortable topic. I'm also going to be reading from some articles that basically validate what women have been saying all along, and doctors sort of ignored it. But now they're admitting, okay, there's some validity there. So please watch all the way to the end. This is going to be a really good, robust conversation. I want to encourage dialogue down below in the comments section. Don't be shy about sharing your own stories. Let's just get right into it.
Love me or hate me, God knows you made it. When he let his eyes on me.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the This Baby Gal podcast. My name is Rogan. On my platform, I do social commentary and reaction videos. I encourage my audience to have private conversations in public. And this is one of those conversations that we keep in private that we do need to speak about publicly. So let's go. So first of all, what is bacterial vaginosis, commonly known as BV? Well, it's an imbalance in the vagina where the bad bacteria take over. And as a result, you have some really unsavory side effects. You can have a thin, grayish, watery discharge. The discharge is basically the fluids that come out of the vagina. You can have a putrid odor. The smell is horrendous. I've heard a lot of people talking about yeast infections having a smell. Yeast infections don't have a smell. They don't smell like your normal like vagina or the way your vagina typically smells, but they don't have a malodor. They don't have a bad odor. Yeast infections are very different. That's when you have a proliferation of yeast, fungus. The vagina is very delicate. It has a very delicate ecosystem. So if one thing is out of whack, if you have more bad bacteria than good bacteria, and if you have then you're going to get a bacterial infection. And if you have more of the fungus, then you're going to get a yeast infection. And anything can throw that off. If you're someone who's not changing your tampon or your pad regularly, and you're creating this robust environment for bacteria to thrive, because you're just sitting in, we're grown. If this is not your kind of conversation, please just click off. It's fine. But I would love for the men to tune in too, because if you're a man who is with a woman and she's experiencing this, then, you need to hear this conversation as well. But if you're just sitting in a pad or you're leaving a tampon in for a long period of time, you're creating this horrible, horrible scenario for your vag where you can develop a bacterial infection or even a yeast infection or a yeast imbalance, because that's really what it is. Another thing that causes BV, sex. A man's sperm, especially if he is finishing inside of his lady, is going to change the atmosphere in there. The vagina is very acidic and men's semen is alkalinic. So when that meets together, it can create a perfect storm that allows for BV to proliferate. Now, that was one of the things that women had been saying over the years, like, oh, wait, what's going on here? I don't get BV unless I have sexual intercourse. And once I have sexual intercourse, it's like this thing comes back.
Let me answer this question. If you have reoccurring bacterial vaginosis, so aka BV, and you've already been to your provider and you're getting on metronidazole, you're doing Metrogel, you're doing clindamycin, and it's still not being cured, please test for Mycoplasma genitalium and Neuroplasma. Those are hidden STIs that can be present near the cervix or in the vagina. And when you have those, you typically will have increased risk for reoccurrent bacterial vaginosis. That's just how that works. Ask your provider to test for that. The other thing is increase your vitamin D status. You're low or deficient, and that will also improve your immune system to prevent vaginal infections. As if you want to take a probiotic, there is one on my showcase that is also great. But to be honest, you really should test for Uroplasma and Mycoplasma.
And they're saying that a lot of men, particularly if they're uncircumcised, can carry a lot of bacteria in their foreskin, and that's passing it on to women. And even for the men who are circumcised, they can also transmit this bacteria onto women. And so that's what's causing a lot of these women to have BV. And even when they're treated, the minute they have sex, it comes back. And so that recurrence is what's really killing the sex life.
My gyno dropped me because my hoo-ha was so bad. I got my first yeast infection like in my life at the ripe age of 27. It was after a round of amoxicillin because I had strep throat. So I took a course of antibiotics, which I had taken so many times previously, but this time, for whatever reason, my body decided to get a yeast infection from it. When I tell you, I was like starfished in my bed, sobbing, crying, not understanding what was happening, calling every woman I know, trying to ask of like, I feel this, and this, what is going on? And everyone was like, oh yeah, it's just a yeast infection. Just a yeast infection. I was done bad, and I went and got Monistat from CVS. It was at night. I had a flight the next morning. I was trying to pack for my flight. I couldn't pack because of the pain. I went and got Monistat. I think I got the 1 or the 3 day. I think I might have gotten the 1 day. It did absolutely nothing for me. I ended up going to a gyno. I got a round of diflucan and it went away, or so I thought. And then about 3 or 4 weeks later, I had BV and a yeast infection, which also never had BV before that. In came this entire cycle of taking antibiotics for the BV and then getting yeast infection because of the antibiotics for the BV, taking the diflucan and then getting BV again about 4 to 6 weeks later, and just round and round we go. I went through about 5 gynos in my hometown in Miami, and then I went to this guy who everyone said was like the best gyno here. Went to him. He treated me for BV, and then about a week after finishing my treatment, I had symptoms again, and I didn't know whether it was BV or yeast infection. And I called him and I said, hey, I have these symptoms. What do you want me to do? Do I go in? Do I get a swab here? What do I do? And he was like, I don't know how to treat you. This is kind of the end of the line for me. At this point, I was outside walking my dog while I was on the phone. And when he told me that, I literally just stopped. And I was like, okay, so now what? Mind you, this all happened within about 8 months. And while this was happening within the 8 months, I kept on taking the antibiotics and the diflucan. I wasn't getting anywhere. I was doing research on my own and figuring out that I had an imbalance in my biome. And what I really needed was to get my good bacteria up here, because obviously it had depleted. And that's why the infections were occurring. I asked every single doctor I went to, like, hey, do you have a recommendation on probiotics or like any type of like maybe holistic like route that I could go? Every single one was like, yeah, I just don't know much about it. Like, I don't recommend it. Here's the antibiotics. That all ended about a year ago, thank God, because I put all of my energy into making sure that my biome was as balanced as I could possibly be. And that meant taking probiotics religiously, which I do every single day. I don't think I've missed a day in like a year. I don't wear underwear, and if I do, it's all cotton underwear. I get mine from Aerie. I cut back on sugar drastically. I also put a lot of probiotic rich foods into my diet so that I can make sure that I'm also intaking them that way. And that includes plain Greek yogurt, sauerkraut, kefir, pickles, pretty much anything fermented. And if you are going through this journey, I'm so sorry. Nobody wants to be here. I understand that, but we do get through it.
So let's see some stats here. And I'm going to see if I can put this on the screen. But it says BV is a common infection that strikes when the natural balance of bacteria in the vagina gets thrown out of whack. About 35% of women will experience it at some point in their lives and is usually treated with antibiotics. But for more than half of the patients, the infection comes back within 6 months, kicking off a frustrating cycle. So another thing I need to point out too is that if you're somebody who gets sick a lot or you're immunocompromised, so you go to the doctor and they give you antibiotics. Let's just say you had a tracheal infection, a respiratory infection or something like that, and they give you antibiotics to combat the bacteria. Those antibiotics don't know to target just the bad bacteria that's causing an issue with your tracheal infection or whatever. So it kills all of the bacteria. And when it kills all the bacteria, it allows the yeast inside of the vagina to proliferate because there's nothing to keep it in check. The bacteria keeps the yeast in check, the yeast keeps the bacteria in check, and they live harmoniously together. But when one is out of whack, when one is gone, the other one will grow. And so when they take these antibiotics, a lot of times it leads to yeast infections. Then they get the antifungals, and then they go and have sex after they're already cleared up. They go and have sex, and then the cycle repeats itself. So now you've got the BV again, then you've got to get the antibiotics, which then leads to the yeast infection. You clear, you go and have sex, and then it happens again. And it's a huge source of frustration for a lot of women and men.
Did y'all see that video that creator made when she said her and her girlfriend was out? She said they goes to the bathroom and she smells an odor. So listen, her being a friend, she tells her girlfriend, she said, listen, she said, I think you got BV. It smelled like you got a little something going on. She was like, maybe you should go get checked out, you and your boyfriend, because it smelled like BV to me. Well, baby, her girlfriend did not take that kindly, honey. She done slid her ass. They done got into a fight. But let me tell you something. You should be glad to have a girlfriend that's willing to tell you that your twat stink. That's not an easy conversation to have with anybody, okay? And I'd rather my girlfriend tell me than every time I go piss in a bathroom, a bitch got a spray coming in and all I did was piss. That's a problem. So to the girlfriend, you should know your was thinking before the you came out, because we know first. And if the you didn't know, you should be glad that you had a girlfriend that was willing to tell you, so you won't be talked about by everybody every time you keep going to the bathroom to take a piss. Like, what's up with that?
It's weird to me that a lot of women don't really check themselves. They don't check themselves at all. It's like when you're removing your underwear, you should be taking a look to see if anything looks off. And certainly if it smells off. And if you don't even have to put your panties like to your face, and you just pull it down and you could smell it, that's off. But some women, I don't know how, think that is just that's just their normal smell, and it's not. I heard a girl on YouTube, and I'm about to be a bit graphic here, so if you're somebody who gets grossed out easily, please do not listen. Just skip forward like a few seconds or something like that. But she said BV smells like you flipped upside down and someone defecated in your cooch. Her words, not mine. Okay. Also, that fishy odor is more noticeable after you have sexy time. So once you have the sexy time, you're going to smell it even more, because again, especially if the man is finishing inside of you, then it's just going to be even more pronounced. And then finally, there's a mild vaginal itching. And it is possible to have both, to have BV and yeast infection together. So those are the things that you have to look out for. And another thing that people need to understand is that a lot of women do not know that they have BV. I've said this in a previous video and I'm going to say it again. A lot of them do not know. Doctors say that 84% of women may not even know that they have BV because they don't have any symptoms. So that's entirely possible too, that you don't have a smell, you don't have the discharge, but you can still have it. And a lot of times having BV and it's untreated can lead to infertility. It can give you issues if you're doing IVF. It can have long-term consequences for your body. So even if you don't have the symptoms, it's still important that you get tested. And you would get tested when you're going to get, like, for example, your pap smear. People should be going and getting their annual pap smears. Or if they just feel like something is off, even if they don't know what it is, they should still be going and getting just a lady examination just to check it out. This article says BV also can trigger widespread inflammation that messes with more than just your comfort. Untreated, it's been linked to infertility, IVF failure, preterm birth, increased risk of sexually transmitted infections, and even gynecological cancers. So recently, I went into two spaces. One of them was a women's bathroom, and the other was a women's dressing room area. I've known, and I know many of you have known about, the women's bathroom area. Sometimes you will go behind someone if it's just like a one person stall, someone uses the restroom very quickly. So, they couldn't have done number 2. They had to have done number 1. And so you go behind them and you smell like a really foul odor. And you're like, what is that? It doesn't smell like a fart. It smells like the vag, and it's horrendous. Well, I recently went into a ladies' room, and it wasn't just a single room. It was like multiple stalls. And a lady was right next to me. She came in and you could hear her peeing. And nothing else. And then she flushes the toilet and the scent just kind of wafted over. And it was so foul. It was like, it took your breath away. Second incident, all this happened within the span of a week. And this is why I literally was like, I have to do this video. I went into a boutique, and inside the boutique were a few, clothing changing rooms or whatever. And so I went in, and there was only one person in there. You could hear, like, it was empty everywhere else. And it's just like one door closed. And it was just one person in there. And the whole area stunk so bad. It was like I wanted to like knock on her door and just like kind of give her some advice. But of course, I don't know this person, but it was this lady. It was really, really bad. And I'm not saying this to embarrass anyone. I think the problem is we're not having these conversations enough. I read somewhere, someone online said, why is everybody talking about BV all of a sudden? Like, is all of a sudden women are now having BV and having these vaginal infections? And I'm like, no, they've always been having them. They just don't talk about them because nobody wants to be attached to the stigma of having a smelly cat. Okay? So what women do is they keep it quiet, or they try to like research it on their own or try to figure it out on their own. But in the community, as we're talking, that's when you start to get some answers as to what could possibly be going on. And I think too, a lot of reasons why we know that the women out there who have this odor, some of you men are married to them, some of you are dating them, and you just don't know how to broach this topic because it's a very difficult thing to tell someone that their cooch has an odor. And so what happens is people just don't say anything. And that's even worse because, as I just read earlier, like left untreated, it can lead to so many different things. But beyond that, you don't want to be in the same space with someone who has, I wouldn't want to be around somebody who has bad breath or bad hygiene or bad body odor or any of that stuff. And so I think it's best to tell people, but you have to be receptive to people telling you. And a lot of people aren't.
I hate going in the bathroom after strikeouts and stink ass. Like, I can't even afford to go in this bathroom because I'm not pulling my out in that stink ass air. Like, I can't do it. So now I'm mad because I might have to go all the way to McDonald's to see if I can go use like a McDonald's bathroom or something. And I'm in a racist ass town. I don't even want to get on my damn car, but I'm not about to put my coochie out after you just got this bathroom boofing this shit. This shit stink as bitch. Like, go to the doctor, please.
As I said, it is extremely difficult to broach this topic with someone. So my advice to any of you is to please just be open to hearing it. Now, don't go to someone and be like, don't be nasty with it when you say it. Like, don't be mean-spirited with it because it is a delicate thing. Now, those of you who just gonna, like, some guys are just really raw when they say certain things. Some women are just raw. Like, don't do that because it's a very sensitive thing. Talk to the person in the way that you'd want someone to tell you. But for those of you who get angry, who get upset, who think someone's just hating and all that stuff, like, do you know how much balls it takes to come and tell someone about themselves in that way? They're telling you for a reason, and you should be very grateful that they're telling you because they could just keep talking behind your back and say nothing. So definitely be open to that. With BV, research shows that it's more common with women who have multiple sex partners, or maybe a woman who was abstinent for a while and then she was good and then she starts again with a new partner and then it triggers that, because again, you're two totally different biomes or two different bodies coming together, and you have your own thing going on individually, and then you're mixing, and some people just don't mix. There are women who could be with a man and constantly get BV, and the minute she leaves that guy, and we've read so many of these reports, the minute she leaves that man, she goes to another man, and it's years and years and years pass and nothing has happened. So they're just not compatible in that way. So I came across this article from the New York Post. The articles are all over the place, but I thought this one was interesting because they were talking to this woman. I think she created some product for men who are infecting women. So I want to read this really quickly. Her name is Priyanka Jain. She's a CEO and co-founder of Evie, which is a vaginal healthcare platform. Now, this is something that a lot of doctors in the past would say, no, it's not the men, women. Maybe it's your hygiene and how you're caring for your vag that's causing these issues. And they didn't really, think that men could possibly be some sort of conduit for women to be getting BV. But she says men can carry and transmit the bacteria associated with BV because the bacteria can live on the skin and mucous membranes of the penis or genital area. They may not feel a thing, but they can still pass along the bacteria that trigger infection. And she says research shows it's more common in women with new or multiple male partners and in those whose partners don't use condoms. Just like I said earlier, uncircumcised men also carry higher levels of BV-linked bacteria under the foreskin. And she says while men don't technically catch BV, they can act as carriers and reintroduce BV-associated bacteria, which may explain why BV often recurs after treatment. So for a lot of women who are just over this, there are some options. Number one, condoms. There are women who are like, I don't want to wear condoms. My boyfriend doesn't like condoms. My husband does not like condoms. Why should I wear condoms if I'm in a committed relationship? Well, here's the question, and here's the choice you have to make. Do you want to wear condoms and be able to engage in the activity that you love with the person you love and not get an infection? Or do you want to not wear the condom and get BV, get treated, potentially get a yeast infection, get treated, get cured, have sex, get BV, get cured, get a yeast infection, get cured, have sex, get BV, then get a yeast infection, and then get cured, and then the cycle repeats itself. And I meant to say it over and over again because that's the recurrent cycle. That's what you go through. So which of those things do you want to do? The second thing is abstinence. I could just hear people going, girl, you tripping. It's either that or potentially see if maybe that person and you are just not compatible down there. Because it could be, like I've said, many women have said, I've switched partners and never had that issue again. Maybe you just two are not compatible in that way. Now, I'm not advocating for you if you're in a healthy, wonderful relationship with someone to just leave them because of that. But I'm just telling you, like, that's also a possibility. Here's another thing, too, what doctors have said. And they need to consider this. Women, like, I'm a tampon user. I know I'm putting all my business out in the streets, right? My gynecologist hates that. He hates that I wear tampons. He's like, you should not wear tampons. I knew that when I would get like bronchial infections and stuff and I would get, antibiotics, it would definitely trigger a yeast infection because, of course, the antibiotics kill all the good bacteria. And so the yeast would proliferate. And so I'd get a yeast infection. Then I'd treat it and go away and I'm good to go. But he also just would be like, I don't like you using tampons. I just don't, because blood is not meant to be kept inside of the vagina. It's not. It's supposed to flow out. And I was like, oh, but I can't do without tampons. I don't want to be feeling like I'm wearing a diaper and all that stuff. And he's like, I'm telling you my expertise. I don't like tampons. So I was like, okay, I won't use tampons. So I'll switch to the cup. I didn't get a yeast infection or anything from that, but he just was like, again, I'm still telling you, like, because when I would go for like pap smears and that sort of stuff. He's the type of old school doctor who asks all these kinds of questions. Like, what are you doing? What are you eating? What are you drinking? Are you a drinker? Are you a this? Are you a that? What are you using for, to manage your period? All these questions. So I'd be like, tampons. I don't like those. And there was a young lady, and I'm going to put her in this video, where she talks about how she figured out the reason why she was getting BV. And it was linked to her pads or tampons, pads. Anyway, take a listen.
Recently, I had a video that is kind of doing some numbers right now. I think it's around 130K. It is a video with a link attached. I am a TikTok Shop affiliate, and it was for Happy V. BV ruined sex for me. That was the title of it. Now, for anybody who works in marketing, sales, or anything, you know that that is called a hook, and it's really to grab the attention of my audience. And then what comes behind it is the meat and potatoes. That is what is going to help people. If you've ever seen a post about BV, there are a lot of people going to come up in them comments and talk about that man gave it to you, that man cheating on you. I didn't want to tell her it was her man, her man. Like, this is what I mean, where I just posted another video about fact checking and doing your own research. Because in that story, I'm going to pin that video to the top. So if you watch this and you want to see the video I'm talking about, it's going to be pinned to the top of my page. But in that video, I express how I ended up with BV and how I felt about having it. I had the fishy odor, I had a discharge, and I did not want to have sex. I tied it into the title, but it was not about sex. It was about my health, my feminine health. With that story, let me elaborate on the rest of it that I felt like I couldn't share without possibly getting a violation. So yeah, I was back and forth to the doctors with BV. Now, my boyfriend at the time did not care that I had that odor. He just wanted to get some. I had no desire to have sex. So for the people who are saying I was back and forth to the doctors because he kept giving me BV, that is not true. Because once I got it, it went away with the antibiotics, and then it came back, and then it came back, and it came back, and I wasn't having sex with him no more. He was trying to convince me to have sex with him still because he was okay with it. I was not, so we didn't have sex. So the fact that it came back and came back and came back, and I was treated for it, it's not adding up, people. It's not adding up. Now, let me tell you what was consistent that happened every month. I would have BV. As soon as I realize I have it, I schedule a doctor's appointment for as soon as I can get it, which may be next week or the week after, right? I get the treatment for it. I have to take this treatment for 7 days. By the time I'm done taking this treatment, I'm clear for a good 2-3 days before my period comes down. So I'm on my period for 5 to 7 days. My period is done. Guess what's back? BV. You want to know why it was back? I was going to the same doctor over and over again. All this man did, a male doctor, all he did was keep prescribing me antibiotics. I went in there furious at one point, and I was like, something's got to give. You're giving me the same thing. It is getting rid of it, but it's coming back. There has to be a better solution. His solution was to put me on antibiotics for 6 weeks. He's like, you need to be on it for an extended amount of time, and this will stop that cycle. Me, I believed him. So I started taking it. It didn't come back until it did come back again. So I was like, okay, here we go again. So I went back to the doctors, and I'm like, I need to see another doctor. I went to the same place and I saw another doctor. This was a woman doctor, a black woman doctor. She asked me certain questions I had never been asked before. Of course, the when is your last cycle? Told her. She was like, do you use pads? Yes. What kind? It begins with an A. Okay. Do you use tampons? Yes. What kind? It begins with an A. She goes, I think that you are allergic to the dyes in your pads and tampons. She was like, that brand bleaches or dyes their pads and tampons to get it to that color. She's like, I think you're allergic to it, and it keeps causing you to have BV every month. She's like, the only thing consistent every month with you is that you get your cycle every month, and after your cycle, BV pops up. I'm mind blown. I'm like, wait, what? Huh? Really? So she gives me the antibiotics again. She tells me get 100% organic cotton tampons and pads. Use that. So here I go next cycle. I done did my research. I found organic pads and tampons. My next cycle comes, I use that. It goes, no BV. The next cycle comes, I use that again. It goes, no BV. And since then, I have not had BV for a long stretch of time. When I got BV again, I did get it again. I never had it chronically again, but I did get it again. I was not even sexually active. But the point is, once I changed the brand of my pads and tampons that apparently my body was rejecting. This is something I had used. My mom, when my cycle started at 12. We went and got the brand of pads that she uses in the house. I have 2 older sisters. They all used it. And that's what we used. As I got older and I got into modeling, I started using tampons. So I went with the same brand of tampons that I used the pads. Okay? And I went years not even dealing with BV. Years. But at some point, my body had enough of whatever the chemicals were in those tampons that I was shoving in there and the pads that I'm putting on myself. My body got tired and I had recurring BV. So I just want to say this. To the people who are in the comments saying it's that man, that man, that man. Your experience is your experience, okay? But my experience and the reason why I was having it over and over again was because the brands of the pads and tampons.
So anyway, back to this article. It says, in a new landmark study, researchers found that treating male partners alongside women with BV slashed the chances of the infection coming back. In fact, the results were so strong that researchers cut the trial short to offer the treatment to everyone involved. And Miss McLean, I don't know if she's a doctor, says treating both partners at the same time helps break the ping pong cycle of reinfection, reducing the likelihood of frustrating reoccurrences and downstream health impacts. So I'll post a link to this article down below in my description box because, like I said, this is not a sponsored post. I am not endorsing this product because I don't know anything about this. But for those of you who are interested, there is a treatment, I suppose, for both of these people. It's a 2-part antibiotic regimen. So yeah, I'll just post the link to the article down below because I just thought it was interesting. But like I said, it was a combination of things that led me to do this video. It was the comments that still come through to this day from that video on the Brazilian waxers. I get so many comments about that. And I would definitely encourage you all to watch that video after this one because it's a really good video. It's a fun video. This one is a little bit more serious because it's more educational, but one that we needed to have anyway. And then, like I said, in the past 2 months or so, I've had to have conversations with a number of women about it. And I said in my previous video with the Brazilian waxers that, you know, in my friend group, I'm always the one people kind of push to the forefront to like talk to people. And it's not something I'm comfortable doing. Like, I don't want to do it, but I'm always thinking from this perspective. If that were me, how would I feel knowing that everybody in this room were talking about me and did not even take the time to pull me aside and tell me, right? So I always operate from that premise that I'd want to be told. I would want to be told. I don't know about y'all. I ain't one of those people who like to live in denial. I want to know everything what's going on with me. And so I'm just like that type of person. It's like, okay, I want to just tell this person. So before we go, let me give you some, let me go to ChatGPT. I was just going to make something up. But let's go to ChatGPT. I'm going to type in something. Should I record this? Hold on. This is so interesting. This is also not a sponsored post by ChatGPT. So let's just ask ChatGPT. I am a husband whose wife keeps having a bad odor. A bad vaginal odor. Let's do that. How do I tell her she needs help without hurting her feelings? Is that good? I'm a husband whose wife keeps having a bad vaginal odor. How do I tell her she needs help without hurting her feelings? Let's see what ChatGPT comes up with. All right. It says, this is the result. This is a sensitive situation and you're right to think carefully about your approach. You can be honest without being hurtful if you focus on kindness, teamwork, and care. Here's a way to handle it that protects her dignity and helps her feel supported rather than criticized. So it says, choose the right moment. Please don't do this during sex. I just want to say that. Okay. Pick a private, calm time when you're both relaxed, not during intimacy. See, I didn't even read that. See, let me tell you something. I didn't even freaking read that before I said it, but okay. ChatGPT, we on the same page. Not during intimacy and not during an argument. Ooh, I didn't even think about that. Because you know how you all go. With your stank coochie. All right. Speak with love, not judgment. Frame the conversation around care and concern, not blame. So here's an example. Hey, love, I want to talk about something a little personal, but I'm bringing it up because I care about you and about us. This is good. ChatGPT, I was about to say the we, use the we, not you, because it's about us, right? ChatGPT, we run on the same page. This makes it feel like you're both on the same team. So for example, I've noticed a change in your vaginal scent lately. It's totally normal for that to happen, but I think it might be worth checking in with your doctor just to make sure everything is okay. I'll support you however you need. That's nice. It says normalize the issue. Women's bodies change for tons of reasons: hormones, infections, pH shifts, stress, medications, periods, and more. Let her know it's common and nothing to be embarrassed about. Here's an example. Lots of things can throw off vaginal balance. It happens to so many women. It doesn't mean anything's wrong with you. Offer support, not solutions. Instead of telling her what she should do, offer to help in a way that feels safe. If you want, I can go with you to the appointment, or we can look into it together. Listen, ChatGPT, y'all need to hire me, because this is exactly the kind of verbiage I would have said. I was going to say this, and I said, let me just put it in ChatGPT. Then you reassure her emotionally. She might feel vulnerable even if you phrase it perfectly and with reassurance. I love you, and this doesn't change how I feel about you at all. I just want you to be to feel comfortable and healthy. This is a really good answer. And I love the whole point about making it a we thing, because it is a we thing. It's not just a you, because he's affected as well. And if you're in a same-sex relationship, lesbians out there, the script is the same for you, you know. But again, don't do this during no argument. Please don't do this during an argument. Like, you're gonna just, first of all, there's no coming back from it after that. You say anything to the in lines of your stink cooch and that's why you smell like da 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 da. How can you come back from that? There's no coming back from it. There's no coming back. All right. So, okay, cool. So let's do another script. So that one was like for a husband and a wife, a boyfriend and girlfriend, a girlfriend and girlfriend. So that's your script. Okay. Make it a we thing. Don't do it during an argument. Don't do it during sex. Okay. I am a coworker. Oh no, that's just too formal. My coworker's vagina has a horrible smell. How do I tell her without hurting her feelings and getting in trouble with HR? This is a very sensitive situation, and you're right to consider both her feelings and HR implications. Do not mention anything about her body hygiene or smell directly to her. That can be easily interpreted as harassment or inappropriate workplace conduct. See, I don't know. I hear you, ChatGPT, so that's why I can't work with you anymore. But I think if you're close, well, not even close, but if you're dealing with someone, you're in proximity to them and you have, a good relationship with them or something like that, for me, you should be able to just kind of pull them aside and tell them in a respectful way without it being an issue. Because I feel like it's only harassment when you keep coming at that person. Like, one and done is the rule for me, because that's not something you're going to forget. So one and done. You tell them, and if they don't listen, then just avoid them. That's the way I look at it. Like, you tell them because you care, and you're doing a yeoman's service by telling them because everybody else is not telling them. But one and done. After that, don't go again. Then you can take it to HR or somebody else. It says, let HR or manager handle it. This is the best and safest option. You can say something like, I'm not sure how to approach this, but I've noticed a consistent odor coming from a coworker and it's creating discomfort. I don't want to embarrass anyone or address it myself. Could HR or a supervisor handle it privately and professionally? HR deals with sensitive situations regularly and will maintain confidentiality. They will speak to her in a tactful, neutral, policy-based manner. Okay. If you are her manager or HR told you to handle it, use neutral, non-body specific language focusing on work environment, not her. For example, a personal odor has been noticed in the workspace. I'm bringing this up discreetly in case there's something you might want to address. First of all, if you've noticed it in the workspace, what the hell I don't agree with this. I don't. Because if this is a work environment thing, why are you coming to me is what the person's going to say. And rightfully so. This is why it has to be specific. It has to be where, listen, it's only me and you. Or I noticed when you got up or when you sat down. Remember, we talked about this in a previous videos. Your sit down air, was a little tough, a little brutal. It cannot be, I noticed this in the workspace, so I'm coming to you. I disagree with you, ChatGPT. It says, do not mention body parts, speculate about causes, or assume it's hygiene related. Keep it simple and professional. I agree to the extent about it, it might not necessarily be hygiene related, because we also have to remember that there are people who have illnesses. You may have a coworker who is battling anything. They might even have like cervical cancer or, uterine cancer or something. And we're not aware of it. You're not aware of it. So you just assume that it's a hygiene thing, like you're just not cleaning properly or it's BV or something. It could be because they genuinely have a medical issue that makes it really hard to keep that under wraps. Doesn't make it easy for the work environment or for you, but I'm just telling you. ChatGPT says what not to do. Don't tell her it's her vagina. Don't mention the word smell, odor, hygiene, or anything body specific. I disagree with that. Don't joke, hint, or try to be subtle. I don't agree with the joking or hinting. Don't tell other coworkers. Yeah. All of these things can be considered harassment and create legal issues. Yeah. The bottom line, they say, don't address it directly with her. The risk of embarrassment, hurt feelings, or HR problems is high. Let an appropriate authority handle it professionally and confidentially. ChatGPT is so helpful. If you want, I can help you draft a message to HR or your manager. For this part, I do disagree. And of course, the HR professionals can jump in and say whatever they have to say. But I think sometimes it's better to come from somebody who works close with you, as long as they maintain that confidentiality, they're private and they're professional in saying it. It's hard to avoid being body specific. Man, I used to work with people who had like cavities out of this world. Their back tooth was wilding. And you know it's their mouth. Every time you say an H word, I smell. Come on, bruh. Cut all them H words. It's your mouth. How can I not be specific about it being your mouth or your underarm area? Listen, y'all handle it how y'all need to handle it. But all I'm saying is keep it confidential. Be professional. Be kind if this is a workplace thing. If you don't want to handle it and you just want to tell a manager, fine. But I would, y'all can tell me down in the comment section like how y'all feel about this. This video is going to be very long, by the way. I hope you guys enjoyed. You said you like longer videos. But I want you all to tell me, would you feel more comfortable if a coworker, not an enemy at work, like I'm not talking about somebody who you can't stand and like they don't like you. I'm talking about just like a coworker who you might be cool with, even if you don't have like great conversations, just in passing, and they say, hey, Becky, hey, let me holler at you for a second. Listen, I don't know if you're aware, but like sometimes like when like you walk by, I could like smell like something. Like, I don't know, you might want to get checked. Like, would you prefer for them to tell you that? Or would you prefer for a manager to come and say, hey, oh God, please, Becky's, don't, let me pick another name because I don't want the people who name Becky to get mad at me. Jusha. Hey, you want your manager to come and say, hey, Jusha, let me talk to you for a second. So it's come to my attention that some of your coworkers have said that you have a bad odor. To me, I'd rather the first. That's just me. Y'all tell me what y'all prefer. I prefer the first because it's like y'all conspiring behind my back, talking about my coach. I don't know. Y'all tell me which one y'all prefer. I don't know. I prefer for my coworker to just come on the slide and just come and say, hey, girl, handle that. And be handle what? That. And I'd be like, what? Thank you. That's just me. Because if I have to go to a meeting where my boss sits down and says, listen, it's come to my attention, and they wearing a hazmat suit, it's come to my attention that, some of your coworkers have complained about, an odor emanating from your nether region. Listen, just take me out and shoot me in the backyard. Just put me down. Because now I cannot even work with you, because now I'm wondering which one of went to the boss to talk about my coochie. Y'all tell me which one y'all prefer. But anyway, I hope that this video was helpful in some respects. Please do your own independent research. When you go to your doctor, please talk to your doctor. Have a great relationship with your doctor where you like, don't hide any. That's the one place you should not be hiding anything. And if you have the kind of doctor that you don't feel comfortable with, then don't go to that doctor. Go to a new doctor who is, focused on educating you and helping you. If you are with a doctor who makes you feel uncomfortable or makes you feel like you're a nuisance or you just keep having this recurrent problem, switch doctors, please. And for the ladies out there who probably have been pulled aside by a coworker or friend, please know that they did that possibly out of love and concern and care, because they could have just not said a word. They could have said nothing. I've decided to retire from the business of telling people, because, most times when I say it, and I do say it with love, I do, and care and consideration, and I don't make a big deal about it. I just kind of just want to say it so you can get some help. And a lot of women have gotten help. I say it because, again, I care. And most of the women, the majority of them have said, I don't think I have one, but I'll check it out. Or some have said, really? Like, how, on a scale of 1 to 10, how bad is it? And then, they get it fixed. And then they say, thank you. And then a lot of times they'll say, hey, and if you smell anything off again, can you tell me? Sure. But every now and then you come across people who they lose their minds. They don't, they're pissed off that you said something like that. And so, I'm retiring. Drop your comments down below and let me know what you think about this topic. Oh, by the way, I think I said that there are ways to deal with it. And I said the condoms, and I said you can abstain. I said sometimes it's a change of partners because you just don't mesh well together. But also there are doctors who might put you on some sort of suppressive treatment for like 6 months or something like that to kind of like really get rid of it. And I think that there's some other tests that you guys can run. You just need to get the kind of doctor who's committed to getting to the bottom line and just stick with that kind of doctor. But I don't think being on medication long term is the vibe, because you can build up a resistance to antibiotics, and that's not what you want. So I think you have to look into other ways. I wish this were studied more. I wish that pharmaceutical companies or doctors or scientists really, went ham on this to figure out the real genesis and how to stop it, or to have a pill that's a preventative. I've heard women talk about taking, prebiotics and probiotics and that sort of thing. Some women have success, some don't. Those old wives' tales, ladies and gentlemen, about cutting garlic and putting in your coochie, please don't do that. And dipping tampons in yogurt, please don't do that. No. Drop your comments down below. You can follow me on Instagram at thisbahamiangal and TikTok at thisbahamiangaltvg. You can follow me on my blog, thisbahamiangal.com. Please sign up for my newsletter and sign up for membership on my channel. And you can buy me a coffee. If you want to support this channel, you don't want to become a member, but you're kind of passing through, you like the video and you're like, I think the content creator did a great job. You want to buy me a coffee? I do buy coffee. So you can buy me a coffee. Everything is going to be down in the description box, and I'll put the QR code on the screen. I love you guys. Thank you so much to my audio podcast listeners. I really appreciate you all. Thank you so much to Garnett Brown for always watching the videos. I really appreciate you guys are like family now. And I will see you all in the next episode. I hope you enjoyed this. This one's probably going to be like close to an hour long. I'll see you guys next time. Bye. Toodles.